Welcome, everyone, to Successful Iranians podcast. And we line them up one after another. And do we disappoint you? Do we not? So, who have we got today? We've got the one and only Hossein Khasmai. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you, Johnny, for having me on.
You're looking great. So, a little bit about Hossein. He's an entrepreneur. He's a public speaker. He's a business consultant. Not to one, not to 10, not to 50, to over 700 companies. Yes, you heard it right, 700. And he's considered an expert in the franchise industry. So Hossein is the founder and CEO of Franchise Creator, a leading franchise consulting firm that has successfully converted hundreds of businesses into multi-location franchises. He's founded many franchise concepts of his own, including Garda Kit, which grew into 175 locations in 11 countries before he was acquired. He's also the founder and CEO of Combo Kitchen, Combo Brands, which grew to over 200 franchises in its first 18 months of operation, and is currently ranked number one in category of top 50 fastest growing franchises, top 25 new and emerging franchises, top 100 low cost franchises, top 100 food franchises, and among the best of the best franchises by Entrepreneur magazines. Many celebrities have partnered with Hossein to start and grow their business worldwide. Hossein and his companies have been featured by multiple outlets and recognized publications such as Entrepreneur Magazine, NBC News, CBS News, Franchise Times Magazine, Retail Magazine, Opportunity World Magazine, INC Magazine, the Miami Herald, and also Des Moines Register, and more. Have I done you justice with that synopsis?
Thank you so much. It was a lengthy one, but yes, been around for a long time. So that's the reason for the long, I guess, resume, if you will. But the gray hairs speak for the length of time I've been around doing this.
Yeah, you're looking sharp, as I said.
Thank you.
Franchising has been something I've even thought about. I run my own company and business. I've gone to franchising events. I've looked at it. There are the big ones. There used to be once upon a time, they used to say, if you own a McDonald's franchise, you've made it. You'll become a millionaire, etc. But it's changed a lot now, and it's a lot more competition. The costs of some of the bigger ones has gone up and up. I know to facilitate it in terms of some loans, etc. Can you talk us through the franchising landscape as it is now and how it's developed?
So, franchising back in the day when it really started to come to the surface for the general Americans and even people in the world, it was mostly about food. And McDonald's, just like you said, really led the way. And of course, the rest of them, the Burger King, the Wendy's, and some of the bigger brands that you've heard of, those were the real leaders in the franchise world. Even today, when we speak to some of the younger business owners, they refer to, I'm not McDonald's, maybe I'm not ready for franchising. When in reality, those old school brands have saturated the market. In other words, right now, if you wanted to own a McDonald's franchise, which by the way, I do not at all in any way would be promoting that. If you wanted to own one, you have to stand in line. And they'll tell you when one territory becomes available, and it may not be near you. And for that, you may have to move to be able to operate it. And this theory that I use, the terminology that I use is these mature franchises like McDonald's are basically for business owners that are looking for a particular return on their investment. If you look at a McDonald's, it costs about $2 million to start and roughly generates about $180,000 a year of income for that owner. It's a pretty decent income for $2 million. But in reality, when you do the math, it's going to take you over 10 years, probably close to 12 to 13 years before you recoup your investment. Now, you look at some of the younger franchises that are out there, whether it's in the restaurant industry or better yet, in other industries that are now a lot more popular. Restaurant industry is a lot of work. It's not a very clean industry in many ways. The employee headaches that are related to it, the cleanliness and the health department and all of that you have to deal with is a lot tougher than some of these other home services or fitness or any other, or even healthcare that is now so much cleaner and better to operate. And they produce significantly more income in a way that you get started with, let's say, $300,000 to $400,000, and you're generating $200,000 to $300,000 of income on a yearly basis, having an ROI of about a year and a half, 2 years. Yeah, I say these more mature franchises like McDonald's are really for the business owners that are trying to get, or businessmen that are trying to get some income out of their investment. But the younger ones are for entrepreneurs. Yes, they're more risky. They don't have the years of history, but yet they produce so much more income at much better working environment than those bigger ones.
Absolutely fascinating. And a lot of what happens in the US tends to come back to the United Kingdom. They used to say, if the US sneezes, we catch a cold. And back in the day, prior to social media and internet, people used to travel to the US and see what's happening out there and take the idea back to the United Kingdom. And as we're in this incredible age of digital, in fourth industrial age of AI and automation, and so many things that are going on, where tech is encompassing so many aspects, what would be your top three or top four franchise sectors now to get into if someone was thinking about doing that?
It's a great question, and that's an ever-changing answer to that question, right? Because if you mentioned Entrepreneur Magazine in your intro, so Entrepreneur Magazine does a fine job of putting out the top 10 list of industries that are hot in the coming year. That usually comes out in their December issue. And us here at Franchise Creator, me personally, having been involved in franchising for so long, probably have more experience than Entrepreneur Magazine because we deal with hundreds and hundreds of different franchises in various industries. But ironically enough, usually our list matches their list, not to the T, but generally, right? So if you look at industries like healthcare, franchising wasn't available in the healthcare industry many moons ago. If you go back 30, 40 years, there were no such thing as an individual like you and I that is not in the healthcare world to own an urgent care center, for example, right? But franchising has changed that. It has allowed any non-clinician to be able to get into the medical world and own a medical office and be able to. That whole thing has helped the healthcare industry. Why? Because healthcare industry in general has been run by doctors and clinicians, which, as you know very well, they're not very good in business in general. So now that you have business people entering that world through the world of franchising, you see these businesses flourish. We didn't have urgent cares, at least here in the US, we didn't have urgent cares in every corner back 30, 40 years ago. But now it has become so convenient that something happens, you have somewhere to go right away. A lot of these bigger urgent care names that you see out there are actually franchise brands. So healthcare is very big in right now, but also home services like landscaping, like residential cleaning, like gutter cleaning, like garage repair, pavers and roofing. And these type of businesses are growing incredibly fast. And the reason for it is because of, in the COVID area, people stayed home. And while they were home, they saw their home as their place of business and also a place of residence. And they started paying more attention in upgrading their homes and making it more comfortable for themselves and for their family. That trend is now continuing even post-COVID, where people are really putting more attention on improving their homes and their living environment. And therefore, these home service franchises are thriving right now. Most of these home service franchises also don't require much of a startup cost. Think about a residential landscaping business, right? You're basically, when you own this franchise, you're not necessarily going out there and mowing the lawn or cutting the shrubs. You're hiring individuals that already have that, hiring companies that already have that. You, in general, become the marketing face of that industry. Again, what is franchising doing to that industry is it's improving the customer service And if you look at the person that is cutting your grass or mowing the lawn, that person usually is a blue collar person that doesn't have much experience in marketing. They're very good at the job they do, but they don't know how to market themselves, right? If you look at the branding that these landscaping companies use, it goes to show you that they don't really have that marketing experience. Now, when you bring a franchisee in, which is being trained by a franchisor how to market this business, how to brand this business, how to acquire customers, it is really now, so you buy this franchise, you go and contract these landscapers that are near you to provide the job, but you're the one that's acquiring the customer. You're the one that's branding yourself and getting out there and marketing it. The overall experience for the consumer and also the business person and even the landscaper themselves becomes better, because now they're just going from job to job to job. They're using an app that's telling them what's the next job they have to go to. On that app, the customer is providing a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star experience. They're getting an immediate feedback from the customer. Everybody is benefiting from the fact that now franchising has entered this very blue-collar industry. So home services, healthcare are two very hot ones. The restaurant industry, it's still thriving. The restaurant world, we call it F&B, food and beverage, in the franchise world continues to be about 60% of the franchise industry. In other words, it's still dominating. When someone is looking to buy a franchise, they're looking for something that they're comfortable with. Food is something everyone knows how to prepare. Unfortunately, it's a very difficult business. You really got to know what you're doing, and you really got to partner with the right franchisor who is going to provide you with the adequate training that is going to allow you to be that restaurateur that's going to be successful. More restaurants close than open, unfortunately, and that's because people get in it without knowing what they're doing. So these industries are continue to be very hot in the franchise world.
Yeah, great insights. With these franchise opportunities, sometimes you'll speak to one and you feel like, I don't feel like I'm getting much back from that opportunity apart from paying the franchise fee and the royalty. It's not compelling in terms of how's this going to fulfill my dreams, or the ideas are going to be a millionaire out of this, etc. That people have these kind of concepts. What to look for and what red flags to avoid when it comes to choosing the right franchise?
And Johnny, that's an amazing point. Nowadays, everybody wants to be their own boss and they go and drive an Uber, right? That's how I'm going to be my own boss, not realizing that Uber really produces you with, here in the US, roughly $12 an hour. When you do the math as far as your gas and your insurance and the oil change and everything that now you have to provide, a mileage you putting in your car. So now there's people becoming smart, saying, okay, this is not really being my own boss. How do I become my own boss? Let me go open a business. Now, when you go to start a business, you have two choices. You start something on your own or you buy a franchise. Now, when you start a business on your own, you're going to go through a learning experience, and that learning experience costs you money and time. And time is money as well. In reality, you're losing money for every single mistake you make. You're putting yourself through this university of business. And for that reason, you're paying the price. You start off with a website that's wrong and you just paid $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for developing it. You make mistakes on creating your social media. You pick a brand that already is used by someone else, and most likely it's already trademarked by that person. And halfway through your business, you realize you have to change your brand. And you open a location in an area that is probably saturated, and it's going to cost you money now to either shut down your business or go and reopen somewhere else, on and on. So people buy a franchise because all of these mistakes have already been made by someone else. Someone paid the price. And now they're teaching you all of their experience so that you don't have to make these mistakes. You go in, they tell you exactly where to pick your location. If it needs a physical location, they're going to tell you what to charge. They're going to tell you how to market. They're going to tell you how to get customers, and they're going to tell you how to provide the customer service, or even provide the service itself, whether it's food, but whether it's home services, whatever it is, you're going to get the entire training, and you go to business and you got nothing to worry about but to make money. So franchises work. As a matter of fact, 92% of franchises that open today are still in business 5 years later, where only 25% of businesses that open today on their own are in business 5 years out. So this statistic tells you which route is the better route. So now let me go back to your question. There are a lot of fees associated with buying a franchise. So nothing in this world is for free. The franchisor who's gone up this hill and knows the road is going to teach you how to get up there without getting injured. But for that, you got to pay a fee. The fee is a franchise fee up front, and the fee is a royalty ongoing. And that royalty is a percentage of your sales, 5-6% of your gross sales, right? So when you're picking a franchise, how do you choose the right one? First, go with your gut as to what do you like to do. This is a potentially a lifetime position you're getting, right? This is not a job that you can change if you don't like it a year out. If you're spending $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, you're getting a loan to get this, and that loan takes 10, 15 years to pay off. You're going to be doing this business for the next 10 to 15 years. You better like it because life is too short. You're not going to wake up in the morning and do something you hate. So first of all, pick a career that you actually, I always tell people, I said, if you're vegan, don't go opening a steakhouse. It makes no sense, right? You're not going to be enjoying what you're doing every single day. First comes that. So now that you've narrowed the industry to something that you actually enjoy, there are plenty of franchises. What you start looking for is what's called an item 19. Item 19 is a declaration of the franchisor and its locations, current open locations, how much money they're making, how much gross income they're making, how much net profits they're making. And the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, who regulates franchising, forces these franchisors to work in those royalties into those numbers. So you as a buyer are looking at these numbers, item 19, and you're seeing that once you pay the expected fees, the royalties and everything else, what you can potentially bring home. So now you're looking at how much the expected investment is, and that's called item 7. So when you're looking at this document, the franchise disclosure document that's provided by the franchisor to you, you're looking at your startup cost that's listed in item 7, call it $300,000, call it $400,000, and it's usually a range. And then you're looking at your expected money to be made, and you're saying, okay, if I invest $300,000 to $400,000, considering that I got to pay these fees, I'm making $150,000 a year, and therefore my return on investment is going to be X, right? So 2 years, 3 years. In the world of franchising or in the world of business, if your investment is returned in less than 3 years, you've done a fantastic job. If it's 2 years, amazing. If it's 1 year or less, where do I sign? That's the terminology that I use, right? So find that franchise system that gives you that return on investment, but most importantly, one that you have a passion for, that you look forward to waking up in the morning and go doing it.
Yeah, such good advice. Doing things that are in your passion set and your skill set, and not just because you feel like, oh, maybe I should do that, but in your heart of hearts, it was never you to begin with. That vegan meat example is a great one. So is it best then to get a loan with a franchise? Say, for example, someone sells a property. It's not their main property, but it's a property they have, and they think, you know what, I've got 200,000 to 300,000. I'm going to put the whole lot into this franchise. What's the best kind of smart scenario to do? Is it not to do that and take some of it as loan? What do you see as the best way from the experiences that you've gathered and the businesses that you've dealt with?
So some of these franchisors require a particular amount of liquidity. They want you to not be in debt when you buy this franchise all the way to your neck. They want to know that you have the pedigree to be able to succeed. A lot of franchisors look at your credit score. And I'm a franchisor myself, I'm a consultant to hundreds of companies, but also I believe in franchising so much that a lot of the businesses that I've started, almost all of them, I've turned them into franchises. It's that secret to wealth. It's that secret to success that a lot of business owners don't know about. It's a very hidden industry, believe it or not. A lot of people think franchising is not for me. is for the big boys, and I'm not a big boy yet. I only have one location or whatever the case might be. But some of these franchisors require particular liquidity. They require particular credit score because a credit score speaks volume about someone's style of life and organization and so forth and so on. If you have a messy credit score, it speaks volume about how good are you with running your financial household or whatever you want to call it, that you're 50, 60 years old or 40 years old and your credit is terrible, meaning you haven't paid your bills or whatever the case is, and they care about that. And then your liquidity, they want to make sure that you have 50, 60, $70,000 liquid. And the reason, one of the main reasons for that is because when you buy a franchise, you have to pay for a franchise fee up front. That franchise fee, which is a cash amount that you pay right at the signing of the document, it's typically anywhere between $30,000 to $60,000, depending on what franchise you're buying. Usually that amount, even by banks, is required to be paid by the franchisee and not, so you got to have that much available. Then the rest of it, yeah, I highly recommend financing because it gives you the leverage so that you don't empty your bank account and put all your eggs in one basket. Even some of the big entrepreneurs that have multiple franchises and they have a multi-million-dollar portfolio, they still go to the bank to buy a franchise because why invest all your cash into one business if you can leverage that out and buy multiple franchises? Some people go get a home equity loan or whatever the case might be. I can't sit here and tell you that's the right thing to do. You're putting your shelter, the roof over your head, your family's head in jeopardy. But if the business is so sure to do well, then that might be the only choice most entrepreneurs have. That's the only asset that they have that they could use as leverage to get a loan for. And it's fine. But you just got to know what you're putting at risk there. So I can't tell you that's the right thing or wrong thing. But at the end of the day, a loan is the right thing. And there are plenty of lenders that specialize in franchising a loan. So they know exactly what to look for. So these lenders are actually helping you find the right franchise. Why? Because they look under the hood where you may not know how to. And they're looking and they're saying, this is not a good franchise that you're purchasing. And for that reason, we're not giving you a loan. That right there is a validation that your choice was right.
Yeah, maybe some people think, oh yeah, I'll avoid the loan because I have to pay interest and therefore I can straight away have ROI because I'll get this franchise. I don't have any loan over my head and ready to go and the money's going to come in. Excellent. And I'm going to take that income. But I guess the majority will do that loan concept. In terms of the person that will be running the franchise, what would that person be expected on average to be able to take in a good franchise in the course of a year? For example, people have got living costs, they're maybe the only provider, whatever it is, they're looking to have this franchise to generate them money, to generate them an income. Franchises will say, well, in the first year, you won't make any profit because you're paying down the loan or etc. And oh, okay, I'd be able to take a basic salary then. And then when they do the numbers, they think, oh, I'm not able to really earn. If you talk to me about that a bit.
Sure. So let me just start off by saying that when you get into a franchise, you have to be very understanding that this is not a job. This is a business. And there's a big difference between a job and a business. A job is 9 to 5. A business is 9 to 9. And I'm not talking about 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. I'm talking about 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. And what I mean by that is when you come home from your work, you're done with work. You're not thinking about it. You're basically concentrating on your family. You go to sleep at night. You don't think about work unless you have stress. But when you have a business, you're constantly thinking about your business. You got bills to pay. You have rent to cover. You have employees that come rain or come shine, they have to get paid. Insurance bills, you have maintenance bills. You have all of these things that are just waiting for you. If the door is not opening, nobody's coming into your store. No one cares. The rent is not going to wait for that. The rent is going to be due. All of your fees that I just mentioned have to be paid. The 9 to 5 gives you a defined number, and that defined number raises by 5-6% if you're lucky every year. That's the raise you're going to get if you're doing a great job. With a business, the sky is the limit. This year, you're making $100,000 of profit. Next year, you're making 200, and the following year, you're making 250. You're buying a second franchise, and now you're doubling your income on and on. So the income that you're making is significantly higher, but you put the work in, and that work is nonstop. You have to constantly be working in your business. So I just want your listeners to be, your audience to be very aware of what they're getting into. This is very different. You either got it or you don't got it. If you have the pedigree to work hard and work hard, then a business ownership is your choice. But if your pedigree is different and you want to concentrate on other parts of life and you want to just make whatever you're making and know the trajectory of where we're going to be 10 years from now, and that's okay with you, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, that's fine. And that's when you stay in your job. When you own a franchise, depending on what franchise it is, my expectation for you is that you need to make at least 100, 150, $200,000. But then again, I say that, but I want you to understand there are franchises you can get into for $30,000 all in. Don't expect to make $200,000 a year. In other words, make an ROI of 1 month or 2 months. That doesn't make sense. There's something wrong with that whole system. Why is this guy selling these franchises? Why isn't he just opening these locations on his own? So the general rule of thumb is, like I said, 3 years or less, you're spending $300,000, you should make about 100K in net profit on a yearly basis. If you're spending $200,000 or you're spending $100,000, you can now do the math. And if you're buying $1 million franchise, which is an urgent care, then hopefully you're making $300,000 to $400,000, $350,000 a year in profit, so that in 3 years you're getting your money back. I don't like to get ROI. I don't like to get into a business that has a longer ROI when it comes to franchises, because there's plenty of there are plenty of franchises that give you that low ROI, 1 to 3 years. Why would you go and invest in a McDonald's that gives you 11 years, 12 years of ROI, right? So that's my suggestion for those entrepreneurs that are interested in getting into a franchise.
And that 100K net profit is taking into account paying off the franchise, the loan that you've taken for the franchise. Is that after all of that?
No, the 100K, Johnny, is not inclusive of that. Depending on what that loan is probably going to be, maybe 10% of that is going towards your loan, which is fine. And the loan is, and if you're making good amount of money, then you can start paying off the loan faster than, your expected time. And the key to this is, look, I always tell people this, Johnny. The key is, if you have a single location, this is a very important statement I'm about to make. Whether it's a franchise or a business, if you have a single location business, call it a franchise that you just bought, call it a business that you put your heart and soul into when you started. If you have a single location business, you have a job. That's what it is. Let's not fool ourselves. You've got yourself a job, except you bought this job. That's what it is. And if you're not planning to grow it, then go get a job, because it's a lot less painful. And you get your paycheck, you walk away, you're done with it. You start a business only if you have a mindset of growing it. I hate it when I see business owners that they start their business without any knowledge of or any goal of growing it. I pass by these businesses, or I come across these businesses that have a very localized name, something like, I don't know, haircuttery of Miami, or haircuttery of 102nd Street, or something like that. You can tell that business owner had no plans of growing this business, because it's just a one location business. So I'm just calling it that, and that's it. You just got yourself a job, because the amount of money you're making from running this business, just like you said, Johnny, maybe 100K, maybe 80K, maybe 90K, maybe 110K, that's a job. Go get a job. Why are you getting yourself into all of this mess? But now, if you own a franchise, you buy a second one. You start paying off this loan little by little. Now you qualify for another loan, because you've done a great job of paying off the first one. Your credit score has gone up. The bank looks at you as a good person, a good entrepreneur, so they're willing to give you more money. Go get that money, open the second location, the third, the fourth, the fifth. There are people that buy a 25, 30, 40 franchises of one single brand. That's what they do. They build a portfolio. There are billionaire franchisees, is what I'm trying to tell you, multi-billion billionaires that are franchisees. They started with one, and now they have 100 McDonald's, they have 100 Burger Kings, or they have 75 Wendy's, or whatever the case is. That's the way to go, right? Because otherwise, why are you wasting your time with a single location?
Yeah. And then there's the argument saying, what about if I just buy an established business rather than a franchise? I won't have to pay the royalties. I won't have to do anything. I'm my own boss, but I've got an established brand, and the return of investment may be quicker because it is an established business. And as long as it's being sold for the right reasons, because there's a lot of rough diamonds, say retirement sale, etc., why not just do that?
And that's a great point as well, right? And that is another way to go. The drawback to that. When you buy established business, that person who's selling you the business is going to basically give you 2, 3, 4, 5 days of training, and they really are not motivated to give you everything and anything that they know. They're not going to go A through Z. They want to get their check. They want to be done with it. There's a reason why they're selling that business, right? If that business was doing so incredibly well, why are they selling it? That's the question you have to ask yourself. A lot of the businesses that are being sold, yes, there is the person that's retiring. Yes, there's a person that's moving from one location to another, and thus they're selling. But at the end of the day, most people that are selling their business, there's a reason behind it. And they are not motivated to give you the entire training. So you get into a business, and whatever training they gave you is all you're going to get, because the guy's gone. He got his money, you got his business. Have a nice day. Don't call me. I don't want to be bothered. If I was going to be bothered, I would have kept my business. Franchises, you're paying their royalty. That means that marriage is continuous, right? They have an obligation to continue to support you because you hold the check, and you're every month or every week you're giving them royalty, and for that reason they got to make sure you're thriving. The better you do, the better they do. So this is why when you have questions 3 months out or 6 months out, they'll be on top of you and they're going to help you get there. If your business is doing this for whatever reason it is, they'll fly somebody out to make sure that they're correcting the business, the issue, so that you go back up and start making money. They have they have a vested interest in your success. The person that you bought a business from, he's gone. He doesn't care if you're doing well or you're doing terrible, right? So that's the difference. But that is another path. That is another opportunity to be considered.
Great. So I think we covered a lot around that. So you're of Iranian origins. Tell us more about you as an Iranian who's been tremendously successful in your story.
Sure, I'd be glad to. I'm very Iranian, actually. I was born in Iran. I left Iran when I was 15 years old. I came straight to United States, and here in Miami, Florida. We never left Miami. We stayed in Miami. I got here when I was a young child. I went to high school here in Miami. I raised my family here. I met my wife actually in high school, and we've been together ever since. So that was a couple of years ago. and and we have two children. Both of my kids speak Farsi. The Iranian culture is very important for me. I've instilled that culture in my family. My wife, who is not Iranian, speaks Farsi and cooks Iranian food, and perhaps some of the best korma sabzi I ever had. And my story is I came to the US, literally no money, quickly got a job, put myself through college, paid for college, and graduated as an engineer. Started looking for a job as an engineer. I got my job, which was at Motorola, and I started developing pagers back in the day. And from pagers back to started some of the earlier cell phone designs. This is going back to the early 90s, if you will. And I was promoted very quickly in that company. And at the end, before I left Motorola, I had 35 engineers working for me. I left Motorola because I've always been an entrepreneur. It's been in my blood from the very beginning. And even though I had a fantastic job, I took the chance and I started the company, which basically allowed a scrolling messages to the bottom of television sets. And this is something in every channel today, but it wasn't in existence back then. And we sold that product to bars and restaurants and airports and what have you, so that when you're watching TV or sports or whatever, now they could put promotional messages on the bottom that says, come on Tuesday and watch the game here and get some chicken wings for free or whatever the case might be. I created that product as a technology company, and we would sell that to bars and restaurants on a monthly fee basis. I was able to grow that company very quickly. Within a year, the company got bought out by a Canadian firm, which was a radio station that really wanted the technology more than the company. Why? Because they wanted the scrolling message technology to be implemented on FM radio, which is what today, at least here in the US, where you're listening to FM radio and you're seeing commercials in print on your display in your car. Then after I did that, that company got bought out, like I said, and then I started doing some work through a company for the Department of Defense and the Secret Service, where we provided financial crime solutions and this and that solutions in terms of technology. And then I started another business. Again, the entrepreneurship kick right back in. It's the itch that we entrepreneurs have, right? We just never stop. I started another company, which was the Garda Kit that you mentioned, where we ID kids in schools and daycares, provide the parents with their fingerprints and photograph of their child in an ID format, both electronically and printed, so that in case a child goes missing, parents have something to provide to the police. And when I started that business, I realized this, every parent wants this. Who would say no to it? Quickly, schools were signing up. Hey, come do our school. Hey, every parent wants this service. And I said, how do I grow this? How do I get this to other cities? I can't be everywhere all the time. And you're dealing with children. So you've got to make sure whoever is doing this in another city has to be trusted. They have to have a vested interest in the business, not just employees. So I started looking into the world of franchising, and that's the first time I entered the world of franchising. I franchised that business because I realized that's the only way I can trust a franchisee who's put their money in to be able to handle this business on their own. So I franchised that business, and that business grew within 5 years to 175 locations in 11 countries. And we had franchises all over the world. And it did get in after the fifth year, just like you said in your introduction, it was ranked among the top 50 fastest growing franchises in the world, and it got acquired. And I don't play golf. I always tell people I have two left arms, right? So I don't know how to do that. So I sat in front of TV and I said, that's not me. The entrepreneur itch came back again. And that's when I started Franchise Creator to help others franchise their business. And today we have become the largest franchise consulting firm in the nation. Franchise Creator itself was acquired last year in 2023 by a private equity firm. And I also have multiple other franchises since then that I've started on my own and have grown them, including Combo Brands and Combo Kitchen, like you said. But that's a rough story about my business and my personal success, if you will. But at the end of the day, I'm an Iranian, and that's instilled in my blood, and it will never go away. It's one of those things, and I've noticed you in your social media, Johnny. You touch on that very much, and I appreciate what you're doing in your social media. It is a part of us. Once you are born a Persian, it's hard to change. Our culture is so damn rich that once you get in, it's very difficult to forget about it and put it away and get on with another culture. It's just, I feel like our culture has so much effect and influence on other cultures, including the Western culture that we all live in. But I'm incredibly proud of it, and I'm incredibly a promoter of the culture. I'm incredibly involved, or at least try to be knowledgeable about our history, and bring that knowledge to our kids, to my kids, so that they understand their blood as well.
Absolutely fascinating. And what a tremendous success story you really are. Do you think entrepreneurs are born or made?
That's a question that comes up all the time. In my opinion, there's two school of thought. Can you make an entrepreneur? And the answer is yes, but I think they're born. I think if you have that DNA for entrepreneurship, then that's you. I'm not saying that if you have a job and you're working, you're not an entrepreneur. 100% you can be changed. A lot of people don't know it, that they were born as an entrepreneur. A lot of people don't understand how to start a business. They have the itch, but they don't want to take this step. Look, I always tell people the road to the top, the road to success is incredibly bumpy, but the view from the top is incredibly beautiful. So those that make it to the top, because you're going to fall a few times and you're going to fall and you're going to get bloody and you're going to get bruised. Those that continuously blood, bruises, bumps, pain, and they make it to the top as they realize, oh, I see it now. I see why they've done it. So I tell people, I tell younger people, I say, look, if you start this bumpy road and if you see you're not capable of handling the bruises, you're not capable of handling the pain, then go back down. This is not for you, right? And it's not for everyone. You don't have that. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with not being an entrepreneur. It's 100% totally normal. But trust me when I tell you, if you can continue to stand back up and make it to the top, then you are among that top 1% that can withstand this pain. But the answer is, to be frank with you, Johnny, I think a lot of us are born this way, right? And we like this pain because it's painful, but we like it, we enjoy it. And like you heard in my bio, I've done this multiple times, and you ask yourself why you keep doing this, but it's just, I don't know any better. That's what I enjoy.
Yeah, I think you're right. What's enough for you, Hussein?
There isn't. I don't think there is such a thing as enough. I've asked that question for myself, right? So when are you going to throw in? Unfortunately, there is something that works against you, and it's called age, and it's time. That's what's running out. The passion, it's still there. You look yourself in the mirror and you say, damn, everybody's got that time frame that you have. And can I do this 20 years from now? Can I do this 15 years from now? And that's what worries you. But outside of that, Johnny, you as an entrepreneur really have to know how to balance your life, right? Because this thing can consume you. It can take you in. It can own you. I told you it's a 9 to 9. You have to know how to enjoy life, because at the end of the day, that's what you're doing this for. You're not doing this to put numbers in the bank, because the numbers in the bank are just simply numbers. That's all they are. Who cares if it's another zero in front of it, if that zero is not being enjoyed? So you've got to learn to have a balance, and you have to learn to say, okay, this is my goal for this year. And your goal is not just business, but also personal. What am I going to do to balance the hard work? And how am I going to enjoy this? For me, it's been my family. That's where I get my pleasure. I get my pleasure of spending time with my kids, with my wife, with my mom and my parents, everybody, my friends, everybody else. I'm going on those trips or vacations or whatever that makes the memories. But at the end of the day, you have to have this work-life balance, because otherwise you'll be consumed by it. Once again, a job doesn't necessarily consume you. Some jobs do, and those are the jobs that you probably have to stay away from. But a job doesn't consume you. You're done. You go home and you go about your life. But you have that fixed income. Whereas and then a potential of somebody coming in, grabbing you and telling you it's the end of the road for you. You got to go out and now start from scratch. You don't get that with business. But what's enough is, to me, as an entrepreneur, there really isn't an end, right? You continue to do it. If you look at some of the business owners that have entrepreneurs that are in the game, you look at Elon Musk. What's enough for him? He's the richest man in the world and has $280 billion to his name. If he started, I don't know, wiping his shoes every single day with $100 bills and replaced his toilet paper with $100 bill, he can run out of money, right? It's impossible to spend this money. So you ask him the question of same thing. What is it that's enough for you? It's not about the dollars. It's not about the zero. It's about the top of the hill. It's about doing it again and again. That's what makes us entrepreneurs thrive, right? And of course, there's different levels of entrepreneurs. There is the guy that just started. There's the middle guy, and then there is the Elon Musk of the world. But at the end of the day, we all have something in common, and that is you enjoy the ride. It's not the destination, it's the ride to get to this destination. It is the journey that is more pleasant than the destination itself.
Yeah, not everyone could be as successful as you, because you can tell you're a natural entrepreneur, and entrepreneurialism is hard. And unfortunately, the stats show, I think 9 out of 10 businesses fail within 10 years. 94% of entrepreneurs never even earn 6 figures. Only 2% earn 7 figures. So you tell anyone those stats, they'll say, no thanks, in any other aspect of life. So you have to be a little bit crazy, a little bit of a maverick. And that attitude to enough is why you're tremendously successful, because you're always on the next thing. And you mentioned people like Elon Musk and other individuals like Jeff Bezos. For those that become tremendously successful, they've had to pay a price, because nobody has it all. Nobody. Because you've had to have some kind of trade-off, and those individuals have had to pay a price with their personal lives. So something's had to give, like their relationship with their wives or Bill Gates, all these kind of individuals, because they're so focused, uber successful, etc. Something's given. Would you agree with that?
100% I agree with that. Look, success comes at a price. First of all, I want to stop and say one thing I haven't mentioned, and that is for those in entrepreneurs that are starting a business. If you haven't failed more than you succeeded, you're not an entrepreneur. You have to fail more. Every failure is a lesson. That's called University of Business, right? So you're learning along the way. Some people pay with money and some people pay with time. And the bottom line is you're educating yourself on what you did wrong last time so you won't do it again. But you got to fail. This is an important thing that people must understand. You think Elon Musk has succeeded on everything he's touched. Everything he touches and turns to gold. You're absolutely wrong. There are many businesses that he started that didn't do so well. And that's fine. And that's true for Warren Buffett. That's true for you name it. Anyone out there that has climbed this ladder of success, you'll fall a few times, and that's completely fine. But like you said, Johnny, there's a price to be paid, right? Nothing in life is free, nothing. So if you want to be successful, it comes with some pain. It comes with a lot of stress. A lot of stress can probably affect you in multiple ways. If you're not willing to take that stress and deal with it, whether it's health things that now you're suffering from because of all the stress that you put on yourself, or whether it's a relationship that you lost because of it, again, it goes back to that balance. You push and push and push, but you got to know when to pull back a little. So you pull this elastic band as much as possible, but you can't continue to pull it until it breaks. You got to know to let go, and when it is, that breaking thing is going to happen. So again, I go back to that work-life balance. For me, I don't believe in that one way of just work hard and I have a mission and I want to get there. I want to get there. But then you look back and you realize you missed out a lot in your life. There was a lot of things that you missed out. I can sit here and tell you that throughout my career, I never missed a particular event with my kids. I never, ever missed an event. Both of my kids are musicians. One of them actually does it for fun, but the other one did it in school. In other words, she traveled. She went to a high school, music-oriented high school, and she traveled for music. I never missed one of them. Never missed a single one. I never missed dinner with my family. That's just doesn't matter how long or how hard I'm working, but we're all having dinner together. That's basically what it is, right? Of course, there are those business trips and this and that you got to go to, but even that has to be limited. So it's that balance that you have to work with. And as an entrepreneur, success doesn't come just with the money and the dollars in your bank account. Success comes as a package. Do you have the entire package? If you won the war, but you lost your entire army, did you win the war or did you lose? And that's the thing that you have to think about. To me, you lost that war. Yes, you conquered, but you have no army now. You had more death than the other side. What good is that? So if you won and got the dollars in the bank account, but as a process, in the process, you lost your spouse and you lost your kids and you lost everybody because now they all hate you, that's not a winning. That's a loss in my book. So that has to be managed incredibly well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely fascinating stuff. And I agree, and most people do struggle with it, especially nowadays. Do you think it's easier or harder to be an entrepreneur now? Because when you think about anything, an idea, unless you're an inventor of some description or whatever, I guarantee you there's already been done. Like any idea, you think, I'll think, oh, I've got an idea, and you Google it, and there's someone else who's done it or thought of it. Even things being said, I guarantee someone said that quote or something, etc. And Richard Branson once said, we're going to do something different, do something better, just spot the gap and make it better. We've got all of the attributes now and facilities at the drop of a heartbeat. You could be a digital entrepreneur. You can got all the communication lines. You've got everything there at a touch of a button. But there is a lot of saturation. There are so many businesses, etc. Especially like in London, which I call the capital of the world. You've got everyone from everywhere that's done this and that's done that. It's a very crowded space. Do you think it's easier or it's harder? What's your view?
So when I look at everything, and you're right, anything and everything you can imagine, somebody already is doing it. But for me as an entrepreneur, it is getting something that's there and making it better is where the money's at, right? If you look at some of the most successful businesses, let's talk about Facebook. MySpace was there. He took MySpace and made it better. You look at Apple. Apple was never, the iPhone was never in cell phone business. They took a Motorola and they took those pads that they used to have, that we used to use for calendars, whatever they were called, I don't remember them now. They mixed the two together and they came up with iPhone. Both of those services were available. At Motorola, we used to develop cell phones that were used as cell phones just for communication. They didn't want, Motorola idea was that they never wanted cell phones to own your life. They didn't want it to be an all-in type of a thing and have a flashlight in it and have an alarm in it and have all of that stuff that we use on our nightstands and next to our bed. All of that is going to replace. They didn't want that. So what Apple did is combined whatever was out there together into one product, and they were very successful. If you look at most of the technology that's out there, it came after something else that was already there. They just took it and made it better. I myself believe in that. I believe in making a better mousetrap as opposed to inventing the mousetrap to begin with. Here's the problem, Johnny. When you invent a brand new product that people have never seen or never heard of, you're going to have to be ready to spend gazillion dollars on marketing because people don't know this product exists. They're not looking for it. They're not Googling it. They're not searching for it. So you have to put it in front of their face and say, here, guys, I have this product. I have this product. Here's why you should have it. Here's what it does. Marketing a brand new product that's never been invented is incredibly difficult and incredibly expensive. But if you're getting a mousetrap and making it better, your competitors have already done that work. People are searching for it. And now you're in the search, but they're now comparing your product to the other product. That this is the one I'm going to go with because it's better. So you're piggybacking on your competitors and the previous product's success to market yours. So yes, everything is invented probably, or most things already out there. No matter what you come up with, you Google it and it's there. But to those entrepreneurs listening to this show, I got to tell you this, is who cares if it's there? If you Google it and you put your head down and say, damn it, here's another one. There you go. That's not how I look at things. I'm like, damn it, I got it. This is the one. Why? Because somebody else has already done it. They've already proven that my idea works. If you have a brand new idea, there is no telling if it's going to work. But when I have an idea and I see somebody else is doing it and they're successful, I'm like, I know I can do better than these guys. And that to me is a motivation more than anything else.
And what would you say is more important, marketing or sales?
100% marketing.
I agree.
100% marketing. Sales comes as a result of marketing, but marketing doesn't come as a result of sales, right? It just doesn't. It says You can sell something, but the more you market, the more you sell. It's a very simple answer.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this before in a previous podcast episode on successful Iranians. I once had Grant Cardone on a stage in a social media app, social audio, and he said, it's not about me knowing them, it's about them knowing me. And it made so much sense because that would get you a lot of inbound stuff and you're better able to protect your price and you're in a stronger position than going out there, etc. Say, hey, it's me, blah, blah, blah. And as we come towards more the end of the podcast, what's the dream now? You've achieved so much, you've got a lovely family, you're an absolute success story again and again. What's the dream for you?
I think the dream now is, for me, is to enjoy what I got, right? That's number one. Number two is obviously now my kids are older and they're beginning to have their own family. And to
Are
be
they
able to,
entrepreneurs?
I'm sorry?
Are they entrepreneurs like that or not really?
Yes and no. So both of my kids are, one of my kid, my daughter is an attorney and my son is an architect. And they're, what makes me proud about my children, a lot of things make me proud, but one of the things that makes me proud is they always wanted to have their own path. They wanted to pave their own road. They didn't want to drive on a road that's already been paved for them. So I take a lot of pride in that. The fact that they studied these difficult careers, a lot of people would have said, why am I doing this? I've got Bubba, right? So why am I doing this? But they didn't. They paved their own road. So they're too young to, they're just beginning their careers. And I always tell people that too. Get into your career and learn from it and get yourself educated in the world of the world, not just whatever you're doing, but learn how the world operates and then start a business. And it's most likely going to be their case as well. But to the answer to your question is to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor and continuously doing what turns you on. Look, I continue to tell you this, that this is, as an entrepreneur, that's my fuel in my tank, right? If I just hung up my attire and said I'm done with this, my business attire, and I'm now going just sitting in front of a TV or whatever, that makes you age, right? That's when all the problems begin to come out, right? So your mind needs to continuously be exercised. It's a muscle that needs to be exercised. And for me, that's what exercises it, right? That's what trains it. And for me, I'm going to continue doing what I've done, what I've enjoyed throughout the years. I'm going to continuously come up with businesses that can be built from A through Z and enjoy the ride. Now, I'd probably hold back from some of those very difficult roads because I don't have to, but I still enjoy the thrill. And because of that, I'm going to continue doing that. But in the process, recognizing that I've got a lot to enjoy and be able to do exactly that.
And why not? You worked hard for it. Final question. Biggest life lesson?
Biggest life lesson for me is don't lose track of what you enjoy the most. Money isn't the answer to everything. It really isn't, right? Health is by far is the greatest wealth, right? Just always remember that. Sometimes we go so hard at it that we forget what we have. We're incredibly wealthy. If you have two arms, if you have two legs, if you have health, I always use this example. I tell people that come to me, hey, I want to be a millionaire. I'm like, you already are. And they say, what do you mean? I said, I pay you $10 million for your right arm. Would you give it? And they say, heck no. I'm like, then you got $20 million, right? So what do you mean you want to be a millionaire? Because there's a person out there that would pay 10 million for your arm right now because they don't have it. And on. So for me, learning and really believing that health is the greatest wealth and be able to enjoy that and enjoy the people that are around you. And again, if you enjoy your family, then do that. Don't lose the time that you can spend with your kids because you can never get that back. You'll never, ever get that back, right? That time goes on. The zeros in the bank are increasing, but the high you get from that is very momentary, right? It's there today, and once you hit a number, another zero puts you, oh yeah, whatever. But that thrill goes away real quick, as opposed to the thrill of life, of the journey, of whatever it is that turns you on. Don't lose track of that and continue to enjoy it, because that goes away, right? Time goes on, kids grow up, you get old, and all of those issues. So that is, if there's one life lesson, that's what I would like to put out there.
Yeah, absolutely insightful comments, because we're all guilty of thinking we've got more time than what we really have. How do people get a hold of you in terms of your socials, etc.? What's the best contact details?
Sure. On Instagram, I'm Hossein Kasmai. So, just the spelling of my name, Hossein Kasmai. And I do have a TikTok as well, the same hand.
Thank you so much, Hussein. I've learned a lot, and it's been absolutely fascinating. And this has been Successful Iranians.
Thank you, Johnny. It was a pleasure to be with you today, and a pleasure to have had the discussion that we had for the last hour. It was really nice. Thank you.